President Donald Trump with a shocking claim on social media, saying President Biden's preemptive pardons for members of the House January 6 committee investigating the attacks on the Capitol are, quote, void, vacant, and of no further force or effect. Why? The president claiming Biden used a device known as an Autopen to sign them.
Who was signing all this stuff by Autopen? Who would think you signed important documents by Autopen?
Who really signed Biden's pardons? Political Detox exposing the truth here once again. I'd like to welcome all to Political Detox, where we cut through the spin, expose the hypocrisy, and break down the story the media won't tell you straight. Tonight we're tackling one of the biggest scandals brewing right now, the Autopen controversy. Trump says Biden never signed his own pardons. Republicans are investigating whether Biden even knew what was being signed. And now, legal experts are questioning whether Biden's Autopen signed pardons are even valid. If it turns out to be true, it could nullify executive actions, overturn pardons, and expose a deeper cover-up. So let's get into this. And for those of you who don't know what an Autopen is, the Autopen is a device that replicates handwriting signatures without direct human involvement.
Put simply, it's a device that uses a pen to recreate signatures or handwriting, even if the, quote, signer is not in the room. President Obama apparently became the first president to use an Autopen to sign an actual bill when he extended the Bush-era Patriot Act while he was in France, a move that caused a bit of a stir at the time.
But it's never been legally challenged until now. Here's why it's a big deal. See, Trump claims Biden's pardons were void because they were signed by an Autopen, not Biden himself.
Use of the Autopen must be directed directly by the president.
Now, House Republicans launched an investigation questioning whether Biden was mentally capable of authorizing the use of the Autopen. A whistleblower came forward, alleging that top Biden aides controlled access to the Autopen and may have profited from its use.
And now we have a whistleblower saying that the Biden administration was selling pardons, selling the signature of the president to get out of prison. Joe Biden signed 8,000 pardons and commutations, which of course is not possible for anybody to do if they were working with a clear and sharp mind for 24 straight hours per day, 7 days a week, 12 months out of the year. You can't do that. You can't do that and then be also the president of the United States. 8,000 pardons that Joe Biden considered and then signed? Bullshit.
Trump called it a bigger and bigger scandal, quote unquote, especially after Biden's struggled interview with special counsel Robert Hur, where he forgot key details. This isn't just about a machine signing documents. It's about who was really running the presidency. How the media's spinning it? Watch how the game's being played. NBC News reported that Biden's pardons might be void, but framed as a procedural issue, not a scandal. And CNN downplayed the controversy by calling Trump's claims, quote-unquote, political theater. MSNBC focused on Trump's legal battles, barely mentioning Biden's Autopen use. And ABC covered up the history of Autopens by avoiding discussing whether Biden's use was legally questionable. Meanwhile, conservative media is all over it. Fox News is pushing for investigations, questioning whether Biden's aides signed executive orders without his knowledge.
Biden was a ghost in his own White House. Republican Congressman Tim Burchett from Tennessee says those thousands of pardons that Biden signed, those were auto-penned. And White House aides may have gotten rich.
The Heritage Foundation released a report claiming Biden's Autopen was used excessively and possibly unconstitutional.
The evidence for that claim appearing to come from a recent Heritage Foundation post on Twitter, showing differences in Biden's signatures in the Federal Register.
You don't use Autopen. It's, number one, it's disrespectful to the office. Number two, maybe it's not even valid.
Trump's allies are demanding formal ruling, arguing that Biden's Autopen use could nullify certain executive actions. The media is split. See, one side buries the story, the other pushes for accountability.
You're going to find staffers that were able to take forms, get them, and run them through some sort of bogus legal system, and then they auto-penned them. And there's probably people out on the street that shouldn't be, but somebody got rich off that. And And I think those people, I hate to say it, but you'll see something probably horrible happen to some of those people because it goes up the chain. This is a very dangerous town to play games in.
President Biden has not publicly remarked on Trump's post, and a spokesperson didn't reply to a request for comment from NBC News. But experts say even if he did use an Autopen, that wouldn't make his orders illegitimate.
The text of the Constitution in Article 1 refers to the president signing it. It doesn't say literally whether that must be, by his physical hand or not.
A 2005 Department of Justice memo explicitly stating that a president does not need to personally sign bills and that the president may direct, quote, a subordinate to affix the president's signature to such a bill, for example, by Autopen.
The Office of Legal Counsel issued an opinion that Autopen signatures are okay, but that doesn't have the same force as, say, a court actually making that determination or Congress, say, weighing in on the issue.
And this is why Political Detox exists, to break through the media's selective reporting and put the real stories front and center. If Trump had used an Autopen for pardons, the media would be screaming corruption. That's controlled journalism. That's narrative manipulation, which is why this channel dives deep into what they won't say out loud. Now, what happens next? This controversy is far from over, and it could have major implications for presidential authority. Legal experts are debating whether Biden's Autopen signed pardons are legally valid. The House Oversight Committee is digging deeper with subpoenas issued for former Biden officials who may have authorized its use. Trump and his allies are pushing for a formal ruling, arguing that Biden's Autopen use could nullify certain executive orders. If Biden's Autopen use is ruled invalid, it could mean that his pardons could be revoked, executive orders overturned, and a deeper investigation into who is really running the presidency. Now here's the bottom line. If media corruption bothers you, it's time to take action. If the media really cared about transparency, they'd investigate both sides the same way. But they don't.
You are going and looking at who is controlling this Autopen, because Joe Biden, he's demonstrating that he doesn't have all the cognitive capabilities they had. That interview was from 2023.
Yeah, that's hard evidence. Early in the President Biden's term as president, it clearly shows that he was in significant mental decline. It questions who was actually making the decisions. So what we found is not just with the pardons he issued, but many of the executive orders that the courts are now using to Trump-proof, many of the executive orders that President Trump is trying to implement to make government more efficient, many of these executive orders, as well as the pardons of Biden's entire family as a result of our investigation, these were all signed with the Autopen. And clearly from that interview, which was many, many months prior to the heavy use of the Autopen, Joe Biden wasn't capable of making decisions. He wasn't coherent. We think we've identified who the staffers are. Jason, you all have done great work with that over at Heritage Oversight. We're going to bring everyone that we believe was involved in any role in the use of the Autopen. We're going to invite them to come in for a transcribed interview. If they want, then they will receive a subpoena and they will have a full-blown deposition. But we want to find out who was actually making the decisions in the White House during the last 9 months of the Biden administration when he was clearly in mental decline.
You made a lot of news on our show saying that you believe that there could have been some real payola with some of these Biden
Have to
pardons.
be 8,000 pardons. I said 2,000, and it's come out. Somebody said something about
8,000.
8,000 freaking pardons. You think Joe couldn't remember what he'd had for breakfast? He couldn't remember where the dadgum bathroom was, and he reviewed 8,000 files on pardons. Give me a freaking break.
Trump's business deal gets blown into a scandal, while Biden's Autopen controversy gets erased from conversation. That's why Political Detox is here. To expose this game, call out the biases, and push for real accountability. Now here's your move. Drop a comment below. Do you think Biden's Autopen use should be investigated further? Like and share this video. Get more eyes on media manipulation and double standards. Subscribe to Political Detox, because if we don't call it out, nobody will. And if you want more heat on this topic, check out my video link above. we're keeping this conversation going, raw and unfiltered. So stay sharp, stay informed, and stay detoxed from the media's lies.